Hi, I'm Myra Kornfeld. I'm a cookbook author and cooking instructor, and I have lots of tips and recipes to make your cooking life a whole lot easier. Today, I'm going to make the third of the bone broths. I'm going to make a beef bone broth. Now, this is the one that has the most gelatin of all of the stocks, and it also cooks for the longest. And after that, I'll make a delicious dish using only a couple of ingredients. So you can see how gelatinous this broth is. There's this protective layer of tallow that forms on the top. It helps keep the stock fresh in the refrigerator for over a week. So you could freeze these stocks for months to have on hand whenever you want to make something delicious. This stock, I use about 7 pounds of bones. Now there's two distinct categories. There's bony bones here, and there are meaty bones here. So the meaty bones have meat attached to them, and those I roast for a half hour at 350. The bony bones are divided into two different kinds. There's joint bones, such as knuckle bones. These have all the gelatin, and then there are these marrow bones that are great for minerals. I like to divide about 5 pounds between the two. This way I know I'll have a lot of gelatin, a lot of good minerals, and good flavor from the meat. So I cover these bony bones with water, about 5 quarts, and add a couple of tablespoons to a quarter cup of vinegar. This is apple cider, so this will help draw minerals out of the bones. I do this and let it sit while the meaty bones are roasting. I've let this sit a half hour, and I already had these roasted bones, so I'm going to add my last couple of bones and then bring this to a boil. Once the stock comes to a boil, skim the impurities that come to the top. It's best if you have a fine mesh strainer. Just spend a minute or so doing that, and your stock will taste much better. Now, add some vegetables, carrots, onions, and celery cut really large, because this stock is going to go for quite a while, and turn down the heat. Notice there's some movement, but there's barely any bubbles breaking the surface. Now I could put a lid on this stock and let this go for up to 24 hours. If I need to go out, I could turn off the stock, and then when I get back, turn it back on, bring it to a boil, skim off the froth, and then turn it down again. And you could do this as many times as you need to. So it might take you 2 days to let the stock cook for just 24 hours. After you strain the stock, save the bones. Freeze them for when you want to make another one and use them again. You may want to roast another bone with meat on it for flavor, and you definitely want to use new vegetables, but the other bones are good to use. The second stock may not be quite as gelatinous, but it's still really good. And now I'm going to demonstrate an onion soup using this bone broth. I'm starting with 4 tablespoons of butter and 12 cups of sliced onions. Now I'm going to put a lid on this and keep this over a very low heat for a few minutes. After 10 minutes, remove the lid. You'll notice there's a lot of liquid. Now you could cook it uncovered, stir it from time to time, especially as the onions reduce and become golden brown. You want them really deep, rich golden, but not burnt. These onions have been cooking an hour. Look at that whole pile of onions just cooked into such a small amount, but we're going to have really deep, rich flavor. Now I'm putting in 2 quarts of the stock, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to bring it to a boil and let it cook at a simmer for 15 minutes to marry the flavors. In other videos, I've gone over some of the health qualities of bone broth, but also I just want to add one more thing, that the gelatin in broth functions in what is known as a protein sparer, and that means the body is less likely to use the protein in its own muscles, which is what is common during fasting or rapid weight loss due to illness. In other words, it prevents the breakdown of proteins in the body. And that's why it's so important to give broth-based soups or stews to people who are ill or in the hospital. I add some raw milk Gruyere cheese, but it's even delicious without it, and I'm adding a sprinkling of black pepper. These bone broths change the way I cook, adding deep nutrition to so many things, from soups to braises to stews to side dishes. It's such a delicious way to enhance your overall well-being.